My name is Margaret Wilson. I'm 68 years old, and 3 months ago, my only son stood in the kitchen of the house I had lived in for 27 years, and told me I no longer belonged there. He looked me straight in the eyes and said, "Mom, things have changed. This isn't really your house anymore." I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I simply looked at him and smiled. Because there was something my son didn't know. Something I had kept secret for almost 10 years. And when he finally discovered the truth, it was already too late. But before I tell you what happened, you need to understand how we got there. My husband, Robert, and I bought our house when our son, Daniel, was only 8 years old. It wasn't a mansion. It was a beautiful 4-bedroom home with a large backyard, an old oak tree, and a small garden where Robert grew tomatoes every summer. That house held our entire life. Birthday parties, Christmas mornings, family dinners, Daniel's graduation celebration. Everything. Robert worked as an accountant, and I was an elementary school teacher. We were careful with money. We never bought expensive cars. We rarely took luxury vacations. Instead, we saved. Robert always said, "One day, we'll be grateful we did." And he was right. By the time Daniel was 30, Robert and I had paid off the mortgage completely. The house belonged to us. Or so I thought our family understood. Then 11 years ago, Robert died unexpectedly from a heart attack. My entire world collapsed. For 36 years he had been my husband, my best friend, and the person I trusted more than anyone. After the funeral, Daniel became very protective of me. At first I was grateful. He visited every weekend. He helped with repairs. He called every evening, and whenever I felt lonely, he reminded me that I still had family. Then Daniel married a woman named Vanessa. She was beautiful, confident, and very ambitious. I tried to welcome her into the family. I bought her birthday gifts. I invited her to every holiday. When she and Daniel struggled financially, I helped them. When Daniel lost his job, I paid 3 months of their rent. When Vanessa wanted to start an online clothing business, I gave her $15,000. I never asked for a penny back. They were my family. I thought that was what mothers were supposed to do. Then 3 years ago, Daniel came to me with an idea. "Mom," he said, "you're living in this big house all alone. Why don't Vanessa and I move in? We can help you with everything." At first I said no. I liked my independence. But Daniel kept insisting. He told me I was getting older. He said he worried about me falling or becoming sick when nobody was around. Eventually I agreed. That was my first mistake. For the first few months, everything was wonderful. We ate dinner together. Daniel took care of the yard. Vanessa helped with groceries. I thought perhaps this new arrangement would bring our family closer. But slowly things changed. Vanessa started redecorating. My curtains disappeared. My furniture was moved. My photographs were taken off the walls. One afternoon, I came downstairs and discovered that my wedding portrait had been removed from the living room. I found it inside a box in the basement. When I asked Vanessa about it, she laughed. "Oh, Margaret, the house needed to feel more modern." I wanted to argue, but I didn't. Then Daniel converted my husband's old study into Vanessa's office. Nobody asked me. A few months later, they began hosting parties. Again, nobody asked me. I started feeling like a guest inside my own home. But I kept telling myself the same thing. They're family. Then came the Sunday dinner that changed everything. Daniel and Vanessa invited 2 couples over. I spent the afternoon cooking. Roast chicken, potatoes, vegetables, and Daniel's favorite apple pie. When dinner was ready, I began setting the table. That's when Vanessa walked into the kitchen. She looked at the dining table and frowned. "Margaret, we're actually having an adult dinner tonight." I looked at her, confused. She continued, "Would you mind eating upstairs?" For a moment, I thought I had misunderstood her. Upstairs? Yes. Daniel's friends are coming, and there isn't really enough room. There were 8 chairs at that table. There were only 6 guests, including Daniel and Vanessa. I looked toward my son. He had heard everything. I waited for him to defend me. Instead, he avoided my eyes. "Mom," he said quietly, "it's just one dinner." I felt something break inside me. But I picked up my plate. And I went upstairs. I ate alone in my bedroom while laughter filled the house below me. The house I had paid for. The house where I had raised my son. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to argue. I was going to watch. And wait. Over the next few weeks, things became worse. Vanessa began calling the house our home. Daniel started making renovations without asking me. Then one morning, I overheard a conversation I was never supposed to hear. I was walking downstairs when I heard Vanessa speaking in the kitchen. We need to convince her to move into a retirement community. My heart stopped. Daniel lowered his voice. She'll never agree. Vanessa replied. Then make her agree. Once she's gone, we can sell this place and buy something modern. I stood frozen on the stairs. Then Daniel said something I will never forget. It's basically our house anyway. That was the moment I realized my son had changed. Or perhaps I was finally seeing who he had become. That afternoon, I called my lawyer. His name was Mr. Bennett. He had been my husband's closest friend. I hadn't spoken to him in almost 2 years. When I explained everything, he became very quiet. Then he asked me one question. Margaret, does Daniel know what Robert did with the house before he died? I smiled. No. Years earlier, after Robert became ill, we had placed the property inside a family trust. I was the sole trustee. Daniel was listed as a future beneficiary. But there was one important condition. The house belonged to the trust while I was alive. Daniel had absolutely no ownership. None. And as trustee, I had complete authority over what happened to the property, including the right to sell it. 2 weeks later, Daniel walked into the kitchen carrying several brochures. Retirement communities. He placed them in front of me. Mom, Vanessa, and I think it's time. I looked through the brochures. Swimming pools. Gardens. Smiling elderly couples. Then I looked at my son. And if I don't want to leave? His expression changed. Mom, don't make this difficult. Vanessa entered the kitchen. She crossed her arms. We've sacrificed a lot to take care of you. I almost laughed. They were living in my house without paying rent. I paid the property taxes. I paid the insurance. And somehow they were making sacrifices. Then Daniel said it. The sentence that ended everything. Mom, you need to understand. This isn't really your house anymore. I looked at him. And smiled. You're right. Daniel looked surprised. I am. Yes. I stood up. This house belongs to a trust. Vanessa's smile disappeared. Daniel stared at me. I continued. And I'm the trustee. The kitchen became completely silent. I explained everything. Then I told them one more thing. The house had been sold. 3 days earlier. A young family had made an excellent offer. The closing date was in 30 days. Daniel's face turned white. You sold the house? Yes. Where are we supposed to go? I looked at him calmly. I believe Vanessa said there are many wonderful communities available. He didn't find that funny. For the next 20 minutes, they begged. Then they argued. Then they blamed me. Daniel reminded me that he was my son. Vanessa called me selfish. I listened quietly. Then I asked Daniel one question. Where was that concern when your wife asked me to eat dinner alone in my bedroom? He couldn't answer. Where was it when you planned to remove me from my own home? Silence. And where was my place in this family when you decided everything I owned already belonged to you? Daniel lowered his head. For the first time, I saw shame on his face. But sometimes apologies arrive only after consequences. And by then they mean very little. 30 days later, Daniel and Vanessa moved out. I moved too. But I didn't go to a retirement community. I bought a beautiful 2-bedroom cottage near the ocean. Smaller than my old house. But perfect for me. I joined a gardening club. Started painting again. Made new friends. And every morning, I drink my coffee on my porch while watching the sunrise. Daniel calls sometimes. Our relationship isn't what it once was. Maybe one day we'll repair it. Maybe we won't. But I learned something important. Being a mother doesn't mean surrendering your dignity. Loving your children doesn't mean allowing them to disrespect you. And helping your family doesn't give them permission to take everything you've worked for. People sometimes mistake kindness for weakness. They think that because you stay quiet, you don't notice. Because you forgive, you have forgotten. Because you love them, you'll tolerate anything. But they forget something. Even the kindest person has a limit. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is stop arguing, stop explaining, and simply walk away. My son thought he was removing me from my home. Instead, he gave me the courage to finally build a new life. And as I sit here today, watching the waves from my little cottage, I realize something. I didn't lose my home. I finally found it.